Like any typical African child, I was raised in a Christian family, finding solace and hope in the teachings of faith. Yet the world of megachurches, televangelism, and prosperity theology remained a distant concept. Well, then one fateful day, I stumbled upon an infamous clip that would shake my perception to its core. It featured a self-proclaimed prophet named Alv Lukau, performing what appeared to be a miraculous resurrection.
Lift your hands.
The controversy surrounding his staged act sparked intense scrutiny and widespread condemnation. However, to my bewilderment, his church not only survived but thrived.
Come here, you're getting married. Come here.
This man, adorned with immense wealth, an opulent lifestyle, and an army of followers, is merely an example of a growing trend that troubles my conscience. It dawns on me that Lukau is just one figurehead amidst a sea of charismatic pastors who wield immense influence in Africa. How can this be? How are countless individuals desperately yearning for salvation from poverty falling prey to such obvious deception? Let's delve deep into the heart of Africa's megachurch empire, where the line between faith and fraud blurs, and impoverished communities willingly fuel the opulent lifestyles of those who claim to guide them to salvation.
So that African traditional religion background in the context of Africa actually makes us very easily predisposed to the type of shenanigans that you're seeing coming into the church, and people follow.
I think we have a lot of commercialism that happens in most religions. I think it's something that all religions have to struggle with, and I personally feel that the way that a religious leader talks about money and manages money is one of the clearest signs of seeing where their heart is at.
I do think that it is shocking to use people's vulnerabilities to whip up emotions, to get people's money, and to do all sorts of things that benefit you. But we have to recognize that the world is full of things.
I come from a small country down south, and my experiences of church were somewhat subtle, I may say. Nothing like this. These are megachurches, which by definition are large-scale institutions that draw in a minimum of 2,000 attendees per weekend. These churches often boast massive campuses and charismatic leaders who command significant influence. The wealth amassed by these individuals is hard to overestimate. So you've got this Nigerian preacher, David Oyedepo, the founder of Living Faith Church Worldwide, who has an estimated net worth of $150 million and claims allegations of his net worth to be an insult.
Some fellow said, okay, I was worth $150 million. I said, that's an insult. $150 million, that's an insult. $150 million, too small. That can't be. That can't be.
Then you've got Chris Oyakhilome, founder of Believers Love World Ministries, aka Christ Embassy, whose net worth is estimated at $30 million to $50 million. And then there's the controversial Shepherd Bushiri, allegedly worth $150 million, arrested along with his wife Mary in 2020 on charges of fraud and money laundering. Then there's Paseka Mutwening, better known as Prophet Mboro, with an estimated net worth of approximately $6.8 million. This is a man who made headlines by claiming to have taken pictures of himself during a visit to heaven using his smartphone back in 2016. Astonishingly, he even offered to sell these pictures to his congregation for a small fee of $340. However, he eventually decided against commercializing them, deeming them too sacred. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. The list of such charismatic pastors and their questionable practices seems never ending. It's hard to fathom how people can be so easily swayed by obvious exploitation. How is it possible that impoverished African communities willingly contribute to funding the extravagant lifestyles of these individuals without questioning their motives? These thoughts consumed my mind, propelling me to venture further into the realm of megachurches, ultimately unveiling the mysteries of the prosperity gospel. Prosperity gospel, or prosperity theology, is a Christian doctrine and holds that God desires for his followers to be wealthy and in excellent health. It is also known as the gospel of success or the gospel of health, to some the gospel of greed. Although it gained root in the Pentecostal movements of the post-World War II years and reached maturity in the late 1970s, prosperity theology has historical roots in the faith movements in the United States of America. The prosperity theology in the USA is big business. The doctrine of the divine economy is founded on the conviction that God desires to grant his people material prosperity. It supports a theological viewpoint that favors health and human or material prosperity above anything else. It teaches that through positive thinking, adherents can attain a change in their socio-economic status because God intervenes in daily struggles of the poor by offering a route out of their situation both physically and financially. The divine economy projects an economy that is based on an open system of limitless resources. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? But how does one acquire such wealth and overcome poverty? It is through faith. Faith is considered to be the main means by which the economic principles of the divine economy is implemented. Faith, therefore, is the primary means through which one can escape the constraints of poverty and physical limitations. Criticism on the prosperity theory made by other Christians who do not buy into it is that the prosperity gospel underscores materialism, individualism, and greed as a vital element of capitalism. It tends to project a type of individualistic consumerism that views the material well-being of people as a salvific goal. The basic tenets of the prosperity theology can therefore be summarized in 4 topical issues, namely faith in God who can do all things, personal accountability to living a life pleasing to God in righteousness, the importance of the Holy Spirit in daily life, and a hope of a better tomorrow. These topical issues appear harmless and are in line with basic Christian theology. However, the shortcoming of prosperity theology and the reason why it is so often harshly criticized is that these topics are taught as means to becoming materially rich, as opposed to the Christian theology that emphasizes these topics as means of getting to know God better. It aims to instill in its members visions of a better life, whether utopian or realistic, amid the chaos, by pointing its followers to a sort of optimism that society does not give to them. In order to promote the preacher's intended message, prosperity theology adopts a literal kind of biblical interpretation that accepts the literal translation of each sentence.
We are not asking you to give so the church can be blessed. We're asking you to give so you can be blessed.
Now, I won't claim to be an authority on biblical content. I'll leave the theological debate to those who possess deep knowledge in that field. However, one undeniable truth remains. Regardless of our criticism or interpretations of its implications, the prosperity gospel generates an immense amount of wealth.
And you have some fancy clothes. I mean, for a pastor, you are living a life of luxury. You've got great homes, you've got great planes, you drive in limos.
I'm a very wealthy man.
You're a very wealthy man.
Yes.
Yeah. And some people would say that is it appreciated?
May I add something to that?
Personally, I don't hold an objection to preachers or congregations enjoying lavish lifestyles if it is willingly supported by the congregation itself. If the narrative within these churches promotes the idea that material wealth is a sign of God's favor and blessings, and the congregation willingly participates in funding their pastors' opulent lifestyles, then so be it. However, my concern lies with the unethical practices that manipulate individuals into tithing with the expectation of receiving more in return. In the world of prosperity theology, congregants are often subjected to coercive tactics that pressure them into giving generous tithes and offerings. The narrative preached revolves around the notion that by sowing financial seeds into the church, individuals will reap abundant blessings and prosperity in return. This belief system creates a sense of obligation and expectation that compels people to give beyond their means, often to the detriment of their own financial well-being. Now, despite the braggadocious display of financial wealth, one would expect these preachers to face scrutiny and criticism from their congregations. Surprisingly, this is not the case. It leaves me pondering the question, how can people be so remarkably gullible? Why does the African community fall victim to the prosperity theology?
In your family,
Yes,
for all of you, it's very difficult, isn't it?
very difficult.
Prosperity theology, which originated from the USA, infiltrated and dominated the African religious space through miracle crusades, fire conferences, and the mass media such as television. The main causes of the rapid growth of the prosperity gospel in Africa in general were poverty on one hand, and the promise of all-round poverty alleviation on the other. The prosperity gospel grew as long as there were promises of a quick fix, and the persistent belief that God was capable of resolving human problems and shielding a devotee from socio-economic challenges like unemployment, illness, higher mortality rates, and the lack of basic amenities. Sickness and poverty were perceived as punishment from God for a lack of faith. As a result, many who were experiencing socio-economic hardships and those who were seeking spiritual protection, healing, and provision or upward economic mobility found prosperity theology to be appealing. I mean, it all makes sense. People often go to religion for comfort during difficult times, and therefore religious groups tend to flourish in the midst of socio-economic challenges. Where socio-economic challenges are prevalent, there is a good chance that people will quickly accept and adopt a contextual theology model that speaks to their situation. This could explain why many Africans in the 1970s chose to embrace the gospel of prosperity as a way to overcome or escape their problems. Thus, by combining the factors of socio-economic challenges, the African belief in demonology, witchcraft, and wizardry, and a deep faith in God's power to uplift the oppressed, a unique theology of success emerged in Africa. What the prosperity theology sells to these communities is the idea that you can overcome all socio-economic problems, and I get it. With all the dark connotations I'm throwing at it, it probably helps many people feel better about themselves and to feel a level of hope that they can beat the situations they find themselves in. Prosperity gospel beginnings were probably humble, and like any religious philosophy was intended to give people a sense of hope. But how that very same philosophy has been converted into a capitalistic tool to profit from impoverished communities is bedazzling to me. You probably think you've seen it all. No, you haven't. Alf Lukau, or should I say Pastor Lukau, is probably most well known for what he calls miracle crusades. Claims to be able to perform miracles, some of which included the resurrection of a dead man back in 2019. He'll bring people to the stage with all sorts of illnesses, and then with the touch of his hand, they will feel God's power running through them as they fall back. People will cheer and scream with their hands in the air, cause who doesn't like to see a miracle, right? Especially when you're facing terrible socio-economic problems. Mind you, Lukau is not the only one who practices this. It's a very common practice within the prosperity community. What is it that we're seeing here? Is it an actual miracle?
Jesus. Jesus.
Blessing Kwamelau is an alleged recruiter and trainer who used to work at Alleluia Ministries. In 2019, Kwamelau came forward with a testimony of his time spent at Alleluia Ministries. He claimed he trained visitors to stage disability during sermons.
Going to them and speak to them clearly. Guys, you know what the Nigerian did when they act. We are going to act. When you are acting, we want our things to to be as real. So when we say you are crippled, you must act as that.
Samantha Revesai was merely a visitor to Lukau's church in 2017. You will be shocked by what happens next. A delusional world where HIV and AIDS can be cured.
For 3 years, she was HIV positive.
For 3 years?
3 years, man of God.
Tell me what happened.
They gave me a paper that was 2 of them. The first one was written, I was positive because they already knew my name and my surname. So they went, I don't know where, to the doctor and say I was HIV positive. And the other ones was saying I'm now negative.
Okay, you're probably like, these are extreme cases, and you'd assume that no one in their right senses would fall for that. What about all the other subtler cases? What about all the other pastors who claim their prayers can heal people from all sorts of illnesses? Well, I mean, they haven't gone as far as try to resurrect the dead, but are we truly witnessing miracles? Are we? Truly? I'm not here to challenge your personal beliefs regarding God's ability to heal the sick. That discussion is for another time. My focus lies in the spectacle created by these spiritual leaders through their miracle crusades. I cannot help but question whether we are truly witnessing supernatural phenomena, or if it is a matter of placebo effect and the power of suggestion. While I want to believe that not every religious leader is fraudulent, the lingering question remains: are these events genuine miracles or a carefully orchestrated performance where God is used as a proxy, while people are asked to pay for the experience? To understand the phenomena of religious and faith healing, we must delve into the fascinating realm of psychology. One key element at play is the placebo effect, a phenomenon where a person experiences a perceived improvement in their condition solely due to their belief in the treatment, regardless of whether the treatment itself has any direct physiological effect. Placebos have been shown to have remarkable healing powers, as the mind has a profound influence on the body's ability to heal itself. In the context of religious healing, the power of suggestion plays a significant role. When individuals attend these miracle crusades or participate in spiritual healing rituals, they are often in a heightened state of suggestibility. This susceptibility to suggestion, combined with the aura of authority projected by the religious leader, can lead to a profound experience and perceived healings. Additionally, the concept of social conformity comes into play. In a large congregation, witnessing others falling under the power of the spiritual healer, expressing emotions of ecstasy and claiming miraculous healings, can create a powerful social influence. Individuals may feel compelled to conform to the group's expectations, heightening their own emotional responses and belief in the healing process.
Demonstration of what? Spirit and power. Demonstration of spirit and power. That's what makes the difference. You heard me?
Now, the limitations of religious healers become evident when we consider the boundaries of their supposed powers. While they may claim to possess the ability to heal various ailments and afflictions, their influence appears to be restricted to subjective experiences rather than objective physical transformations. Despite the awe-inspiring displays of fervent testimonials, we seldom witness a religious healer miraculously restoring an amputee's limb or regenerating a missing organ, or resurrecting the dead, unless it's staged, of course. Instead, their abilities seem confined to the realm of psychological perception, where the power of suggestion and the placebo effect can sway our interpretation of the event. Religious healers are, in my opinion, similar to stage hypnotists. Despite their different intentions and settings, they both harness the power of suggestion. They both understand the profound impact of suggestion and influence. Through their words, gestures, and commanding presence, they establish a connection and gain the trust of their participants and followers. They carefully craft their language and communication to guide their audience's attention and shape their beliefs. Whether it's the stage hypnotist leading someone to quack like a duck, or the religious healer commanding an individual to be healed, the power of suggestion plays a pivotal role in both scenarios. The prosperity gospel and the practices associated with it often capitalize on these psychological factors. By promoting the idea that material wealth and blessings are signs of God's favor, individuals are encouraged to give generously in the hopes of receiving even greater abundance in return. The allure of prosperity, combined with the emotional experience and perceived miracles, creates a potent cocktail that can be very difficult for some to resist. We'd probably expect a video like this to come from a non-believer, but I am a believer. I believe that somewhere out there is a supernatural power that I personally refer to as God. Nonetheless, I think we should approach our devotion to Christ critically. Exploitation of communities is a terrible act, even when it's done in the name of Christ for the gains of the mighty dollar. The dark side of African megachurches cannot be ignored or denied. While these churches may offer comfort and hope to some, they can also perpetuate harm and injustice.